Guys, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. So we are going live with another episode of the podcast at a very different time, of course, but that is all good. The goal is to, while it's on a really good time zone for everyone, dish you guys up a little bit of value. So we're going to start this one in 2 minutes, and then we are ready to rock and roll. So, guys, if you are coming into this one live, make sure that you let us know. We're going to be starting this one in just 2 minutes, and we're going to be talking about just some simple calorie reduction strategies without needing to track food or go on a restrictive diet. Does this make sense? So let's get this started. Let's get this popping in just 2 minutes. We'll wait for any of the crew that wants to come in and watch this one live to do exactly that. So if you're coming into this one live, guys, you know the drill. Make sure you get down in there in the comments. Let us know you're here. Hey, Jules, what's going on, girl? Hello, Benny. Tezza, how are you, mate? Tez, you must get notifications every time I go live still, which is really, really good. So I hope you're well, brother. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you on the coaching call, Tez, Benny. Hey, Cesar, what's going on, mate? It's going to be a nice little recap for you. Hey, Hops, what's going on, brother? Are you coming back onto the coaching call tonight, Hops? We'll be live at 8 p.m. Sydney time. Good morning, Kylie. I sent you across your little ebook as well, just in the success team now. Guys, we're going to start this one in 1 minute. Hello, Nick. Lovely to have you here with us. Hey, Janine, a.k.a. Muscles. I hope you're good. Guys, so I just want to keep this podcast really simple and just come back to a few basics, which, again, being on the road has really, really helped me. So I reckon we're pretty much ready to go. Let's pull in, just for a bit of fun, Instagram, and I think that's ready as well. So let's see. Pop that in there. So if you've got anything you want to share in the comments during the podcast, guys, please do so, and I can read them out, and we can talk turkey while we're going. Does that sound good? All right. I think we're ready to rock and roll, guys. Let's do this. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. If you're watching this episode live, you can see I'm back in London in a really small, tiny apartment that's trapping me in, and I can't really put my arms out properly. So nostalgic coming back to London. I lived here in the UK for about 4 years when I was 25 years old. And just getting back on the tube is I don't know, for me, it is fun. I actually really love the tube. People hate the tube, but I love the London Underground. There's something about going through all the stations in West London that, I don't know, it feels and makes me feel young again, right? So do I want to go back to that time? No, I don't think so. Who's been to West London? Who's watching live and has been to London? Who loves this city? It's a cracking city, and there's just so much going on. So, guys, before we kick this episode off, a few little things to tick off. Number one, we have booked our Australian retreat dates. The dates will be the 4th to the 6th of April 2025. I'm super excited off the back of the UK retreat we just run, which was just so fun. It was like a nice, small, intimate group and in a cool place. By the way, Scotland is amazing, totally underrated, I would say. So now I understand why guys like Clint Guyett and Dan Smith rave about Scotland. It is very, very cool. Secondly, your merch has landed. It's either at Burke Road Shops or it is being in the mail to you. So you're ready to rock and roll. So get excited about that as well. And if you're watching this live and you're a man, jump on the coaching call in a couple of hours. Mike and I are jiving together. So let's talk about what we want to talk about in this episode here. 4 simple ways to reduce calories without restrictive diets or tracking. Look, if you're in Better Body Academy, our model is this. We call it the eating evolution. So what it looks like is following a meal plan for a short period of time, right? The reason we give you a meal plan is because we want to give you some structure and we want to show you just how much food you can eat when it's the right type of food. Okay, when you've actually got a plan. We want to take the thinking away for you. So the guys and girls that follow that meal plan get great results in the first 4 to 6 weeks because two reasons. The calories are controlled, number one, and number two, there's enough protein in the meal plan such that it fills them up so they don't feel like it's a restrictive diet, despite the fact that the calories have been reduced from where most people are. So that's the first step. But at a certain point, where you want to get to is what we call intuitive eating. This basically means eating the foods that you like to eat, doing it on the go, being able to go out for dinner and go to barbecues and go to the footy and not have to worry about constantly managing your weight because intuitively you understand. So there's meal plan at the start, there is intuitive eating at the end, and then in between, there is a gap here, okay? And what the gap is where you're trying to learn about calories and about protein and what's in food. If you don't dip into that gap and learn that process, which, by the way, is the most important process in the entire transformation, is if you can understand nutrition, you can lose weight. Like, not maybe. And look, people, it's hard to talk about this with you guys sometimes because we want to talk about our genetics and we want to talk about menopause, and all those things are real. They're real. I'm not deflating the fact that they're real. But there is a law of the universe that defines that if you eat less calories than you burn, you will lose fat. That's as simple as it is. And so our goal is to get ourselves to a position where we know what is going in. And if we can know what's going in, then perfect. We're good. We can lose weight over a long period of time. However, what you do need to know is that tracking forever is not necessary. When you feel like you're at the point where you're like, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, then you can dip back into not doing tracking. And at that point in time, right, things get really, really simple. So I want to just give you 4 tips to speed up that process on how you can actually make it work. And number 1 is very simple. I'm just basically telling you guys what I do in my life. Number 1 is committing to not drinking fluids that contain calories with the exception of alcohol and skim milk. Okay? So for me, I see no reason at all to consume sugar-based sodas, juices, cordials, Powerades, when all that actually means is I'm going to have to go and burn those calories off. You might be smart. You might go into your local grocery store and you might say, well, I can have the 5-star extra lean beef mince, or I can get the 3-star extra fatty beef mince. They both cost about the same. I can eat one of these 2 things. Which one am I going to choose? The one that contains less calories if you're serious about weight management. Well, when it comes to drinks, you can drink Diet Coke, you can drink Diet Fanta, you can drink Diet Powerade, you can drink skim milk, you can drink low-calorie beer, or you can drink the high-calorie versions of those things. There's no extra benefit. There's no... I cannot think of a single reason, and I know that perhaps a few of you might say, oh, it's the artificial sweeteners that are in. Listen, if you're carrying 20 to 30 kilos, your biggest issue is not artificial sweeteners and the actually proven fact that they do not cause cancer at all. You've got to be having these options if you want to get serious about your weight loss. So you're grabbing 2 things side by side, and you're choosing the one with the lower calorie version without doing away with the taste, the sugar. In fact, I've talked about this on a couple of the last coaching calls. They've done now studies where they have compared people who are trying to lose weight, ones that are drinking exclusively water, and ones that are including diet beverages. And what they've shown is the ones that are drinking the diet beverages are actually the ones that are losing more weight. Now, how does that work? How does consuming diet beverages cause more weight loss? There's no such thing as a negative calorie drink or food. So there's no food that causes weight loss. But what it is that when you drink a Diet Coke or a Diet Fanta or a Diet Powerade, you get the feeling of your sugar, it's quenched, right? So it feels like you've had something sugary, even though it's not sugary. So what this means is that you've had your cake and you've eaten it too, so to speak. So this is the reason why I do agree that having absolutely some artificial sweeteners is a good thing if your main goal is weight loss. So just look at what you're drinking over the course of a day. If you're drinking full cream lattes, sodas, juices, cordials, you just don't need to do it when there is low calorie options. All that is extra sugar or fat that you're putting into your body, calories that you're going to have to burn off. And you're not going to be able to do it. Number 2, let's get to number 2. Don't add liquid oil to either meat cooking or salads. Now, look, I know a lot of you guys love the idea of thinking that adding a bunch of olive oil is healthy on your salads. Hey, is there a benefit to olive oil? Yes. Do I add it to my salads? No. So what's the difference between healthy and containing lots of calories? 30 mils of olive oil contains about 200 calories, which is the equivalent of 1.5 beers. So next time you're pouring olive oil over your salad, I want you to instead think you're pouring beer all over your salad. It's just not what you want to do. There are other ways to get in good, healthy fats. For example, eating avocado, eating eggs, good, healthy fats that come in without being in liquid form, which doesn't satiate you at all. Let's talk about cooking meats. A lot of us will go out and we'll choose really good, healthy cuts, which is the first part about choosing good, lean meats, right? Is choosing healthy cuts. There's not a bunch of visible fat off or cutting the fat off. But then we go and cook it in like half an inch of oil. We're essentially just doubling the calorie content. This is one of the main reasons why, Chinese cooking is extremely high calorie, because nearly everything that it comes with is either battered and then put in a sauce and deep fried and then put in a sauce, or just put in a sauce. And that's just adding a bunch of extra calories. You just don't need it. So there's 2 options. Get a non-stick pan, A, pretty simple and now very cheap. Or B, just use spray oil. Like, these are very, very basic tips, but the amount of times, if you go to a restaurant, the big challenge about going to a restaurant is that the goal there is that they want you to come back because it tastes delicious. So what they're doing is adding a bunch of fat to and basting the steak while it's being cooked. This is adding tons and tons of calories, which is the reason it tastes so great. If you cook it at home on the barbecue and it's just with some spray oil, you get to avoid all of that. So this leads me into point 3, and this is to eat more at home. I am not saying at all, don't misinterpret me and say that you can't go out to cafes, you can't go out to restaurants. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is the more occasions you're eating either on the run for your workday or you're eating out of home at restaurants and pubs, it just becomes impossible to control your calories at all. I'll give you an example of this. So when I first landed in London, and this is a really curious thing, so many of the restaurants over here, I don't know if it's a law that's been passed. If anyone's watching from the UK, please tell me. But I've noticed that there's calories on a lot of things, like far more than Australia or Canada. So much so that we went to a pub, or we got the menu from a pub, And for a pub meal, all of the 20 items on the menu were listed out in terms of the calories. Crazy, right? And so when I looked through that list, there was not a single meal on the mains list that was under 1,000 calories. Now, if you're a lady that's trying to lose some weight, you probably want to be sitting in around the 1,500 to 2,000 calorie range to be in a calorie deficit. So what this basically says is you go to that pub and you have that one meal, that's 2/3 of your daily calorie deficit target done in one meal. Like, you're just never going to be able to offset that. The average calorie meal on a good protein calorie controlled meal is probably going to be somewhere around 6 to 7, maybe 800. So it's those extra 300 or 400 calories that you've got to include when you eat out that you just cannot offset. Again, I'm not saying that you can never eat out. That's not what I'm saying. You've just got to understand that the restaurant is gearing you towards wanting to come back because you love the taste so much and it was a great meal and it was romantic, or you shared the company of friends. That will always have a place. They'll always have a place. It's certainly, I did it last night. It's certainly got a place. But you can't go days and days and days continuing to eat away from home if you don't understand calories, protein, and the like. It's just going to be impossible for you to lose weight. And an example of this was the retreat. You know, going to the retreat was amazing, but naturally you just eat more calories because you're presented with more food options. So the fourth option that I want to give you, the fourth way to essentially get your calories down, reduce calories without restrictive dieting or needing to track with MyFitnessPal, is I want you to start thinking about getting protein in at including your snacks. Now, talk to the women. There is this historic kind of passed down generation. I don't know where it comes from, but that protein's bad for your kidneys. Look, protein has been proven time and time again to not be a problem unless you have existing kidney disease, because then you've actually got a mechanical filtration problem. But if you don't have that, then having higher amounts of protein is only beneficial for a host of reasons. But the one we want to talk about in here is that it fills you up, it satiates you. When I come on the road like this, I need to be prepared, because I know that getting hold of good protein can be difficult. So I'm carrying with me protein bars, protein shakes, and things like beef jerky to make sure that when I get hungry, like right now, I just don't take the easy, kind of quick, convenient option, which is to go get a bunch of scones rather than actually give me something that's going to help me towards my weight management goals. So for you, I want to give you a hot tip, and that is you need to get your protein in as early as you can in the day. A lot of people will start the day with a couple of pieces of toast and some jam, or a bunch of oats. And that's great. It's simple and convenient, but it basically is going to put 300 to 500 calories in your body with pretty much zero protein, which basically means that you're going to have to play catch up over the whole day. How many of you are finding you're getting to the end of the day and you've missed your protein target time and time and time again? That's because you're playing catch up. You need to get the protein in as early as possible. And if you're having a breakfast, that starts with breakfast. So what could that look like? That could be some eggs, very, very simple. Some eggs with some toast, nice and light, simple to make. Boiled eggs, fried eggs, it really, really doesn't matter. Or you could just, if you don't have time for breakfast, get out the door with a protein shake under your belt. It's pretty simple, but if you can get in 30 to 50 grams of protein by midday, getting the next 100 to 150 grams is going to be easy by the time you have your big main meals. If you don't do that at the start, you're going to be struggling. And I want to just final by saying, if you're feeling hungry over the course of a day, it might be because you're bored, emotional, stressed, all signals that we confuse with hunger. Number two, it might be that you're just tired or dehydrated and you actually need to drink something. So that's number two. But number three, it might be because you're hungry. And if you're hungry, it's likely because you're skipping on your protein. I don't know many men and women that consume 150 to 200 grams of protein a day that are complaining about how hungry they are. It just doesn't happen because protein is satiating because it's hard to break down. So the types of things that I'm talking about would be something like a protein shake. You could, for breakfast, for example, you could get some oats and then put a scoop or two of protein powder in it to give it the protein. You could do some eggs and toast. Then you could go to mid-morning. You could have a skim latte, as an example, which contains a good amount of protein. You could have that with a low-fat yogurt at about 10 grams to 15 grams of protein and 100 calories. Very simple. At your main meal, you're going to have something like a chicken wrap, as an example, or a chicken salad, but with a good slug of protein in it. You're going to do a packet of beef jerky in the mid-afternoon when you're getting peckish again. And then in your main meal at nighttime, you're going to have 250 gram piece of meat, which is going to whack you in another 50 grams of protein. So rather than having to get all the protein in at the end, you've accumulated it over the course of the day, which at the same time has minimized your calories. So guys, I'm going to love you and leave you there. I'll give you those tips in summary form. Number one, just get rid of all calorie-containing beverages out of your diet except for alcohol and skim milk. Number two, stop adding liquid cooking oil. Number three, you got to eat more at home. There's a reality there. You're eating out lots, you're going to struggle. And number four, get your protein in at every meal. Ask yourself, for those of you that are in the UK, you're about to go to work today, what does my lunchbox look like? Am I proteinized? That's not a word. If you're packing your lunch for Australia tonight, you guys in Australia would be doing that at about now. Have you got your protein supplies in your lunchbox? If you don't, you're going to be hungry, which is going to cause you to overeat and continue to struggle with your weight. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast. I hope it's been helpful. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Okay, team. Quick podcast episode, a little bit out of time. I hope there was a little bit of value in that. And just coming off the back of a retreat, it just felt like, you know what? Let's just get back to some basics. Let's get some simple reminders up about how easy this actually is if you just delete all the noise and just focus on what actually works. Anyway, guys, for those of you in Aussie Men Group, see you on the coaching call in a couple of hours. Can't wait. Peace.